You should learn from your mistakes. In light of this, and in effort to prevent another nuclear catastrophe like the one that occurred in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan in 1945, academics from several academic disciplines have looked into the effects that a nuclear bomb explosion would have on cities today. So here we're going to see what would happen if a nuclear bomb was dropped on a city. Welcome to Explained, where you will find all the explanations for all of your doubts. Before we move on to the video, subscribe to this channel and also enable the bell icon for more videos like this. You might be curious, why are we still concerned about nuclear weapons if we, as a species, want to prevent another catastrophic disaster like those occurring during World War II? There are numerous ways to investigate nuclear power and research, and one of them reveals the worst aspects of human nature: weapons. Although the actual number of nuclear warheads in existence globally is still unknown, the Federation of American Scientists calculate that there are approximately 19,000 of them, with the majority of them, 95%, being made by Russian and American companies. According to the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, the remaining nuclear weapons are spread among nations like France, the United Kingdom, and China. However, North Korea, India, and Pakistan assert to possess one. How strong is a nuclear bomb? Everything is based on its capacity. The US and Russia's contemporary nuclear arsenals, according to the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, or ICANW, are thermonuclear weapons and have explosive outputs of at least 100 kilotons of dynamite, and some are significantly higher. They had an explosive yield of roughly 15 kilotons when they were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which is now regarded as modest. It's estimated that if a nuclear weapon is dropped on New York City, it will result in over 500,000 deaths. The International Committee of the Red Cross, or ICRC, and other organizations started compiling and studying the effects of such a great event and how it affected not only the health of civilians but also the environment and even the medical infrastructure after the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. Since then, a group has met frequently to evaluate the dangers of nuclear war. International conferences were held in 2013 and 2014 by the governments of Norway, Mexico, and Austria to thoroughly evaluate the body of information regarding the humanitarian effects of nuclear weapons, and they produced some unsettling hypotheses and findings. A nuclear explosion in or close to a populated region would result in a blast wave, extreme heat and radiation, and radioactive fallout, which would cause significant damage and a significant amount of displacement. The explosion's debris will be injected into the atmosphere, limiting not only how much heat from the sun that reaches Earth, a phenomenon known as nuclear winter. Famine will result as a result of the policy's short and long-term effects on agriculture and food harvesting. The electromagnetic energy produced by the nuclear explosion would have the capacity to destroy everything from electrical grids to microchips all throughout the world. The impact of the enormous amount of debris sent into the atmosphere would be much more pervasive. With less heat from the sun reaching the surface due to this aerosol of particles, a nuclear winter with severe environmental effects would result. The nuclear explosion's electromagnetic radiation pulse will destroy everything from global power systems to microchips. Nations won't be able to regulate the nuclear downwind, putting the entire planet at risk of radiation exposure. The possibility of a nuclear conflict has grown due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. What exactly would happen after a nuclear bomb blasts people on the ground? Naturally, the answer is based on how many weapons are dropped. According to the Federation of American Scientists, 90% of the nuclear weapons in the world are owned by Russia and the United States. The United States has 1,644 weapons posed in a similar manner, while Russia has 1,588 weapons on intercontinental missiles with a range of at least 3,417 miles, or 5,500 kilometers, and heavy bomber bases which house aircraft capable of transporting and dropping a nuclear payload. The two nations also possess another 5,000 or more operationally active bombs that are just waiting for the launchers. Not only because of the first deaths, but also because of the subsequent global cooling and so-called nuclear winter, a full-scale nuclear war may easily be seen as the event that brings about the extinction of humanity. Yes, you heard that right. The impact of a nuclear bomb can be even more fierce. But before we get into it, subscribe to the channel and enable the bell icon so that we can keep you updated. Some foreign policy experts believe that a limited nuclear battle involving so-called tactical atomic bombs may be a more realistic scenario. According to the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies, these smaller bombs, which have a range of fewer than 310 miles or 500 kilometers on land and less than 372 miles or 600 kilometers by sea or air, make up 30% to 40% of the US and Russian arsenals. Even though they wouldn't cause the worst-case nuclear apocalypse, these weapons would nevertheless have catastrophic effects on the blast zone. Have you heard about radioactive fallout? The subsequent and far more dangerous effect of a nuclear explosion is radiation. According to Nuclear Choices for the 21st Century, the fission bombs dropped on Japan caused local fallout, whereas contemporary thermonuclear weapons blast radioactive material into the stratosphere, the middle layer of Earth's atmosphere, allowing for worldwide fallout. Whether the bomb detonates above the ground in an air blast, which intensifies global fallout but dampens the immediate damage at ground zero, or on the ground, which reduces the global impact but is catastrophic for the immediate area, determines the level of fallout. The 48 hours following the blast are the most dangerous for the fallout. According to the manual Nuclear War Survival Skills, distant particles may have less radioactivity by the time they float to Earth in the absence of snow or rain, which would aid in bringing the fallout to the ground faster. The chance of developing cancer is very high for survivors who were exposed to fallout. According to ICRC, more than 10,000 survivors of the 1945 bombings have received treatment at specialized facilities in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, with cancer being the leading cause of death for most of these patients. According to the Red Cross, leukemia rates among those exposed to the radiation were 4 to 5 times higher than average in the first 10 to 15 years after the explosion. According to Nuclear War Survival Skills, a region that initially experiences 1,000 Roentgens, a unit of ionizing radiation, per hour of radiation will only experience 10 Roentgens per hour by 48 hours following the blast. Acute radiation poisoning is likely to cause the death of around half of those exposed to 350 rads of radiation in total over the few days. What will the environmental catastrophe be? Fallout and radioactivity would have detrimental consequences on the environment and human health. The explosions from a nuclear conflict might even have an impact on the climate depending on their scope. The fallout might affect croplands in a nation like Ukraine, which produces 10% of the world's wheat. If the fallout is ingested by the food supply, it could result in long-term issues like cancer. Radioactive iodine in particular could pose a risk. If enough bombs were dropped, the amount of ash and soot released into the atmosphere during a nuclear conflict could significantly reduce the temperature. The detonation of merely 100 warheads the size of one dropped on Hiroshima in 1945, however, would bring global temperatures down by a little to the Ice Age, which lasted from around 1300 to 1850. In contrast, 1 or 2 nuclear explosions would not have a worldwide impact. A sudden and drastic change in climate would result from the influence today. The Little Ice Age saw temperature drops of up to 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 2 degrees Celsius, which is a greater decrease than the rise in the warmth since the start of the Industrial Revolution, approximately 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit. What are your views on the nuclear bomb as a weapon, knowing that it is one of the deadliest weapons ever created? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, consider subscribing to the channel to watch more informative content like this. Check out other videos on our channel, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.